Hey, what's up guys? Maidenslave here, and today we talk The Chemical Wedding. So The Chemical Wedding is Bruce Dickinson's 5th studio album and would be his last studio album before returning to Iron Maiden, him and Adrian Smith. And this album is a lot different than Accident of Birth. It is not quite as upbeat. It's slowed down a little bit, it's heavier, and it's a bit deeper. For me, I prefer it over Accident of Birth. It is my favorite Bruce Dickinson studio album, solo album. It just feels a lot more original than Accident of Birth. You know, with Accident of Birth, it was a great album and everything, but it really just feels like they've, kind of played it safe. They just kind of went with songs that they knew were going to sound good. Whereas on The Chemical Wedding, it feels like they put a lot more thought into the songs. They took a lot more chances, and a lot more originality came out, and it just feels like a beefier album altogether. It feels, I don't know, it just feels a little bit better to my ears. So yeah, let's talk about it. The artwork is really cool. It kind of looks like just like a picture of like this weird dude. And, it's gotten some criticism. Like, a lot of people are kind of just like, what the fuck is that? But it's not bad, Bruce Dickinson, it just seems like he always needs to have some kind of creature on his album cover. And it doesn't look bad. It looks whatever. So the production on this album, as I said, it is a lot heavier. It's a lot better to me. It just feels a lot heavier on the bottom end. The guitars feel heavier. Other than that, though, it is very similar to Accident of Birth. You got the same guys in the band, obviously, with Adrian Smith, Bruce Dickinson, Roy Z. So it doesn't differ, I guess, too much from Accident of Birth. Basically, it's just another really good album. They kind of hit it out of the park again, but with a different kind of style. So the first song on the album is called The King of Crimson, and it is a really cool intro. It has like this weird little drum thing, and it just comes in really heavy with really heavy guitar lines. Just a lot heavier of an album just to start off. The King of Crimson is one of Bruce's heaviest songs, and his vocal performance on it is really, really good. And obviously you got the solos of Roy Z and Adrian Smith kind of bouncing back and forth in there. It has some melodic lines in there. There's a particular part in The King of Crimson that sounds a lot like the chorus in The Klansman from Iron Maiden, which is funny because both of those albums came out the same year. Just a little thing that I thought I'd note, that I noticed in the song. The next song on the album is called The Chemical Wedding, which is the title track, and this is a great title track. This is one of those songs on the album where it feels like they really took a chance. It's a much slower song, but it sounds like there was a lot of thought put into it. When it goes into the verses, the first few verses, they do this guitar sound that really sounds like liquidy. It sounds like chemicals when he's singing, and it's a really cool guitar effect. And the chorus is one of the best choruses I've ever heard. It sticks in your head, and it works. And the song's not too long, and it has a pretty good musical interlude in there as well. Like I said, this album offers a little bit more depth. That's probably a better way to put it. It offers a lot more depth than The Accident of Birth. Next song on the album is called The Tower, and this is probably one of the more famous songs off of this album. It's on his best of. He did it live a lot. The live version is really cool. It is a really good song. It takes a little while for it to get going. When you first hear it, when I was a kid and I first heard it, I was like, oh, that's just a wannabe Rothschild. But, it's really not. That was just me being stupid. Because it starts out with drums and bass. But when the guitar lines come in there, it's really cool guitars, some really cool guitars in there. The singing's really good. I really like the lyrical content in there, I really like the chorus. Really, really good guitar parts, really good, melodies running through it. There's a lot of This is a heavy album, but the melodies are still running through it a lot, and they really come out a lot on that song, The Tower. Get a drink. Next song on the album is The Killing Floor, and this is where the album slows down a little bit in my mind. This is one of those songs like Into the Pit where, it's not a bad song, it's heavy, it's got some cool lyrics in there about Satan and whatnot, but compared to the rest of the album, it's just Not as good. Although, you know what, it is a good song. I like it. Just not a, a best of type song. Really heavy. Sounds really different. Next song on the album is called Book of Fel. And similar to Dark Side of Aquarius, this is more of an epic-y type song. It's around 8 minutes long, and it is just as great as the Dark Side of Aquarius. Really, really, really good song. It has a lot of different movements in there. And there's an interesting and cool lyric in there when he says, something wicked this way comes, which if you guys are familiar with Iced Earth, they put out an album called Something Wicked This Way Comes the same year in 1998. So another one of those weird little, coincidences of 1998. I don't know if anybody else paid attention to this shit or if I'm just a fucking lunatic who pays attention to this kind of weird shit. But other than that, though, it is obviously probably the best moment on the album. It is really, really, really good song, and it has there's a really cool part in there where Bruce kind of layers his voice. It's like a choir of Bruce's again, like on The Trooper, and his voice was spectacular at this point, and it was really good on this album. Really, really great song. Love it a lot. And that goes into The Gates of Urizen, and this is probably my personal favorite on the album. That song is so cool. The intro is just kind of, it starts out really slow with some kind of, guitars, and just the way that they put it in the final mix on stereo. It just really, really sets a really, really good mood, sets a really, good atmosphere, and it's just a really good song when it gets into it. It kind of just goes into a chorus, but it's not too long, and the intro is really cool. One of the highlights of this album for me. The next song on the album is called Jerusalem, and this is probably where they experiment the most on the entire album. The intro is kind of not weird, but it's just it's not even out of character because this album is so kind of out there. It's so experimental, but at the end of the day, it's not that strong of a song. The intro has like a lot of cool like acoustic guitars and acoustic little I don't know what they're called, but yeah, it has a lot of acoustic strings in the beginning to open it. It's kind of more of one of those kind of storytelling songs in the beginning, but it gets into a pretty good chorus, and it's not that bad, but probably the weakest moment on the album, but it doesn't kill it. Just shows kind of a bit of a different side, I guess you could say. It shows more of the fact that his band wasn't confined in any way. They could do what they wanted to, and it worked. Next song on the album is called Trumpets of Jericho. This is also another very famous song because he played the song live a lot. Usually he opened up most of his concerts with it. And it is a really good song. It's a lot heavier. It's kind of more reminiscent of Accident of Birth, kind of a little bit more straight to the point. Has really good choruses in there. And it's just a really good song. Next song on the album is called Machine Man. And this is another one of those weaker songs on the album, one of those weaker moments. However, it doesn't destroy the album, and if you're just listening through, you don't want to skip it, but it's not that strong compared to the rest of the album, especially the first half of this album. And it ends with a song called The Alchemist, and this Alchemist is a lot better than Iron Maiden's Alchemist. The whole song, this whole song kind of just feels like it's coming to a close. And this album, I don't believe it's a concept album, but there is a lot of similar themes running through it. And it kind of, it has kind of a similar feeling throughout the entire album, but each individual track is strong in and of itself. But this song sounds very, like, through the whole time, it just kind of sounds like, it's coming to an end. And it's pretty cool. The first time I listened to it, I kept saying, wow, that sounds very similar to the chorus in The Chemical Wedding. And at the end of this song, he actually repeats the chorus, The Chemical Wedding, except in the key of this song. So I felt like, oh, you know what, that's pretty cool. It gave it more of a kind of concept-y feeling. It gave it more of kind of, coming to a close. And I really liked it a lot. So overall, The Chemical Wedding is another great album by Bruce Dickinson. They hit it out of the park again, but in a different way, and I really, really like it. It's my personal favorite. I really feel like this album is a very, very strong album, and it's very original, and it actually, you know, it gets overshadowed a lot by The Accident of Birth, which is a bit of a shame because it's equally as good, and it shows it has more color, it shows more, radiance than An Accident of Birth. But, you know, Accident of Birth isn't bad. So if you guys haven't checked this album out, and you are a fan of Accident of Birth, give this whole album a chance, because it is really good. It's a really good product. So I'm going to give The Chemical Wedding by Bruce Dickinson a 9 out of 10.